Take a moment, not to rush, not to scroll, just to think. Who is actually controlling your life? Most people would say, I am. But if you look closely, the answer is very different. A stranger's tone, a coworker's comment, a message that never came, a single line on social media, and suddenly your mood changes. Your chest tightens, your thoughts spiral, your peace disappears. This is where the real problem begins. If someone can disturb your inner state with just a few words, then they are not just speaking to you, they are controlling you. That means the remote control of your emotions is not in your hands, it's outside. And that is one of the most expensive mistakes a human being can make. Most people don't realize how often they react. They believe reaction is strength. They believe answering back means self-respect. They believe silence means weakness. But look at your own life, honestly. How many times has reacting actually helped you? How many times has it brought peace? How many times has it improved the situation? Most of the time, reaction only creates more noise. You replay conversations in your head. You imagine what you should have said. You feel angry, heavy, distracted. Even when the other person has moved on, your mind is still stuck there. This audiobook exists for one reason: to help you take your power back. Not through loud motivation, not through aggressive confidence, but through control. On his channel, the focus is not on winning arguments, it is on winning your inner world. Because real power does not come from reacting faster, it comes from reacting less. Think about this carefully. When someone insults you and you immediately respond, you are accepting their frame. You are stepping into their emotional world. You are letting them decide your next move. That is not dominance, that is submission. True strength is the ability to pause, to observe, to choose. The pause is where freedom lives. Most people are afraid of silence because silence exposes insecurity. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding drama, and drama cannot survive without attention. This is why silence feels uncomfortable at first. Your ego wants action, it wants validation, it wants to be seen and heard. But ego is expensive. It costs energy, it costs focus, it costs peace. Every unnecessary reaction drains you a little more. And when this becomes a habit, you spend your entire life tired. Not because life is hard, but because you are constantly leaking energy. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. When you understand your own worth, you stop trying to prove it. Silence is not about being passive, it is about being selective. Selective with your words, selective with your emotions, selective with your energy. Look at the people who truly command respect. They don't rush to defend themselves. They don't chase approval. They don't argue for validation. Their calmness speaks before their words ever do. When you stop reacting, something powerful happens. You start seeing situations clearly. You stop taking everything personally. You realize that most people are not responding to you. They are reacting to their own stress, fear, and frustration. And once you see that, their words lose their grip on you. This is where real confidence is born, not from loud behavior, not from dominance displays, but from inner stability. The ability to remain steady when others are chaotic is one of the rarest skills in the modern world, and rarity creates power. This journey is not about becoming cold. It is not about shutting down emotionally. It is about learning when engagement is worth it and when it is not. Because every reaction is a transaction. You are paying with your energy, And the question you must start asking yourself is this: is this situation worth the price? Most of the time, the answer is no. And the moment you understand that, you begin to reclaim control over your life. Why reacting makes you weak, not strong. Most people believe reacting is a sign of strength. They believe that answering back means confidence. They believe that defending themselves proves self-respect. They believe that silence means they're losing. But this belief is one of the biggest lies people live by. Reaction feels powerful in the moment, but look at the aftermath. After reacting, your mind feels restless, your emotions feel heavy, your focus disappears. Even if you were right, something inside you feels drained. That's because reacting is not power, it is emotional spending. Every time you react, you pay with your energy, and energy is not unlimited. Most people waste it on arguments that change nothing, on people who don't matter, on situations that don't deserve attention. On his channel, the core idea is simple. Power is not how loudly you respond, but how little control others have over you. Think about this. When someone says something negative and you immediately react, you have already lost control of the situation. Why? Because your emotional state is now dependent on their behavior. They speak, you feel something. They decide your mood. That is not independence, that is emotional slavery. True strength is when someone tries to provoke you and nothing inside you moves. Not because you are numb, but because you are stable. Most people confuse calmness with weakness because calmness does not seek attention, it does not perform, it does not demand validation. But calmness is expensive. It requires awareness, discipline, and maturity. Reaction is cheap. Anyone can lose control. This is why reacting feels normal. It's easy, it's automatic, it requires no thought. But automatic behavior is not intelligence. When you react without thinking, you are operating on old programming, habits built from past experiences, insecurities, and ego. And ego always wants to speak first. Ego wants to correct. Ego wants to win. Ego wants to be right. But ego never asks, is this worth my peace? Silence does. When you don't react immediately, you create distance between stimulus and response. And in that distance, something powerful happens. You regain control. You start seeing patterns instead of insults. You see insecurity instead of arrogance. You see frustration instead of disrespect. This shift changes everything. Because once you understand that most behavior is not personal, you stop internalizing it. And when you stop internalizing, you stop suffering. Most conflicts survive only because both sides keep feeding them. Reaction is fuel. No fuel, no fire. This is why silence feels uncomfortable to people who thrive on chaos. They expect engagement. They expect resistance. They expect emotional feedback. When they don't get it, they feel powerless. That is quiet dominance. Not through control of others, but through control of yourself. Understand this clearly. Not every situation deserves your emotional investment. Some people want reaction, not resolution. Some conversations are traps, not discussions. Some arguments are designed to drain you, not understand you. When you stop reacting, you step out of these traps, and something unexpected happens. Your mind becomes clearer, your decisions become sharper, your presence becomes heavier. People begin to notice, not because you speak more, but because you speak less, and only when it matters. This is why truly confident people do not rush to explain themselves. They trust their character. They trust their direction. They know that time reveals truth better than arguments ever could. Reacting makes you visible for a moment. Calmness makes you respected for a lifetime. And respect lasts longer than attention. On his channel, the focus is not on teaching you how to win debates. It is about teaching you how to protect your energy. Because once your energy is protected, everything else improves. Your work, your relationships, your mental clarity. This is the foundation. Before mastering silence, before mastering emotional control, before mastering peace, you must accept one truth. Every reaction is a choice. And once you realize it is a choice, you stop reacting unconsciously. You pause, you observe, and slowly you stop giving your power away. Silence is not passive, it is strategic. Silence has a bad reputation. People think silence means fear. They think it means submission. They think it means you had nothing to say. That's not silence, that's avoidance. Real silence is different. Real silence is intentional. On this channel, silence is described not as the absence of strength, but as strength under control. Think about the strongest people you've ever observed closely. They don't rush to respond. They don't jump into every argument. They don't feel the need to explain themselves to everyone. Not because they can't, but because they don't have to. Silence gives you time. Time to assess. Time to understand intention. Time to decide whether something deserves a response or deserves to be ignored. And ignoring is not weakness. Ignoring is selection. You are selecting what gets access to your mind. Most people allow unlimited access. Anyone can say anything and it instantly enters their head. That's why they feel overwhelmed, irritated, and exhausted. They are mentally overcrowded. Silence is how you set boundaries without announcing them. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't react, you are sending a message without words. I decide what affects me. That message is felt more than it is heard. This is where strategy comes in. Silence creates uncertainty in others. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you're planning. They don't know if they succeeded. People who rely on reactions lose power when reactions stop. That's why silence feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to explaining yourself. Your ego will panic. It will tell you they will think you are weak. They will misunderstand you. They will assume you lost. But ego is obsessed with perception. Power is obsessed with reality. Reality is this. People who matter judge you by consistency, not by arguments. People who don't matter will judge you no matter what you do. So silence saves you from pointless performances. Another truth most people avoid: not everyone deserves clarity. Some people are not confused, they are committed to misunderstanding you. Explaining yourself to them is wasted energy. Silence starves that cycle. And when you stay silent long enough, something interesting happens. Patterns reveal themselves. You start noticing who only appears when they want something, who only speaks when there's drama, who disappears when there's no reaction to feed on. Silence exposes intentions. Words hide them. On this channel, this idea is repeated often. Silence turns observation into power. When you observe without reacting, you collect information. You see who respects boundaries, who tests limits, who thrives on attention, and who respects calm. This information makes you dangerous in a controlled way, because now your responses are calculated, not emotional. When you finally speak, it lands heavier. Why? Because people are used to noise. They are not used to precision. Silence sharpens your words. It also sharpens your mind. When you stop reacting immediately, your nervous system settles. Your thinking becomes cleaner. Your decisions stop being emotional and start being intentional. This is where most people fail. They think emotional expression equals honesty. But unfiltered emotion is not honesty, it's lack of discipline. True honesty is knowing what to express and what to withhold. Silence teaches restraint, And restraint is a form of confidence. You don't need to prove you are right. You don't need to win every exchange. You don't need to respond to every opinion. That urge fades as your self-respect grows. Because when you respect yourself, you don't hand out access to your emotions freely. You protect them. Silence is protection. It protects your focus. It protects your peace. It protects your direction. And most importantly, it protects your power. This doesn't mean you never speak. It means when you speak, it's deliberate, it's calm, it's grounded, it's final. And people listen, not because you're loud, but because you're controlled. On his channel, silence is framed as preparation, not retreat. You are not backing down, you are backing up to see the whole picture. Because only those who can stay silent under pressure can stay powerful in chaos. Emotional control is a skill, not a personality. Most people think emotional control is something you're born with. They say things like, "That's just how I am. I'm naturally emotional. I can't help reacting." That's not truth. That's an excuse. Emotional control is not a personality trait. It's a trained skill. On his channel, this idea is made very clear. If reactions were uncontrollable, everyone would react the same way, but they don't. Some people explode. Some people observe. Some people smile and move on. Same situation, different response. That means control is possible. The problem is that most people never practice it. They practice reacting every day. They practice getting offended. They practice explaining themselves. They practice defending their ego. So naturally, they get good at it. What you repeat becomes automatic. If you want power, you have to retrain your defaults. The first step is awareness. You can't control what you don't notice. Most reactions happen fast, so fast that people confuse them with instinct. But instinct is not the same as impulse. Instinct protects you from danger. Impulse protects your ego. Learning the difference changes everything. Here's a hard truth. Most things you react to are not threats. They are discomfort. Someone disagrees. Someone ignores you. Someone questions you. Someone says something stupid. None of these threaten your survival, but they threaten your image. An image is where ego lives. On his channel, the message is blunt. Ego is loud. Power is quiet. The moment you feel the urge to react, pause and ask one question. Why do I want to respond right now? Is it to clarify or is it to defend? Is it to solve or is it to prove? That single question creates space, and space is where control lives. Another misunderstood idea. Suppressing emotion is not control. Exploding is not honesty. Control is choosing expression, not eliminating emotion. You still feel anger, you still feel irritation, you still feel disrespected, but you don't let those emotions drive the vehicle. You observe them like signals, not commands. Think of emotions as alerts, not orders. They tell you something is happening. They don't tell you what to do about it. Most people skip observation and jump straight into action. That's why they regret their reactions later. Regret is the cost of untrained emotion. Training starts small. You don't master emotional control in big moments first. You master it in small, daily ones. Not replying immediately, letting a comment sit, allowing silence in conversation, ending a discussion early. These moments feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is withdrawal. Your mind is addicted to reaction. It wants release. It wants expression. If you don't give it, it complains. But if you stay calm through that discomfort, something shifts. You realize you're not losing control, you're gaining it. Another key idea on his channel. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Just because someone provokes you
doesn't mean you owe them a response. Access to you is earned, not automatic. This mindset alone eliminates half of unnecessary stress. Emotional control also changes how people treat you. When others see that they can't pull reactions out of you, they become careful. Some lose interest. Some gain respect. Some reveal their insecurity. All outcomes work in your favor because control makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability, when calm, is powerful. You're no longer reacting on schedule. You're no longer easy to read. You're no longer emotionally available to everyone. That scares manipulators. It frustrates attention seekers. It attracts mature people. And here's the part most people don't expect. Emotional control doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. Clear in thought, clear in speech, clear in action. You stop saying things you don't mean. You stop apologizing for reactions. You stop cleaning up emotional messes. Your life becomes quieter, but stronger. On this channel, emotional control is described as self-respect in action. You are telling the world, my peace is not negotiable. And once you live that way, reacting starts to feel unnecessary. Not because you're above others, but because you're grounded in yourself.
When you stop reacting, your life changes. At some point, something shifts. You stop reacting, not because you're forcing yourself, but because reacting no longer feels necessary. This is the real turning point. On his channel, this moment is described as the transition from emotional survival to emotional mastery. You realize that peace is not something you find, it's something you protect, and protection requires boundaries. When you stop reacting, you start choosing. You choose where your energy goes, who gets access to you, what deserves attention, and what gets ignored. This choice alone changes your life more than most people realize, because most people don't live by choice, they live by triggers. One comment controls their mood. One message ruins their day. One opinion shakes their confidence. When you stop reacting, those chains break. You become internally stable, and stability is rare. That's why calm people stand out in chaotic environments. They don't absorb the noise. They don't amplify drama. They don't compete for attention. They move differently. They listen more. They speak less. They act deliberately. This doesn't mean people stop testing you. They will test you more. Silence challenges fragile egos. Some will push harder, hoping to provoke the old version of you. But when nothing happens, they reveal themselves. They expose whether they wanted connection or control. And that clarity is priceless. Another truth emphasized on his channel: not reacting doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means responding on your terms. Sometimes that response is silence. Sometimes it's distance. Sometimes it's one clear sentence and then disengagement. The difference is timing. You don't respond emotionally. You respond intentionally. And intention always carries more weight than impulse. When you master this, relationships change. You stop arguing. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing understanding. You let people interpret you however they want, because you are no longer dependent on validation. This is where confidence becomes quiet. You don't announce boundaries. You enforce them through behavior. People learn how to treat you by how you allow them to treat you. When reactions disappear, manipulation stops working. Guilt stops working. Pressure stops working. Drama stops working. Your life simplifies, not because you care less, but because you care wisely. On his channel, this stage is called emotional independence. You're not detached from emotion, you're detached from chaos. You still feel deeply, but you don't leak emotion everywhere. You direct it.
This control sharpens your focus. Your work improves because your mind isn't scattered. Your decisions improve because they're not rushed. Your presence improves because it's calm and grounded. People sense it. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Calm confidence doesn't need explanation. And here's the final truth most people never hear. The real power of not reacting is not how it affects others, it's how it changes you. You sleep better, you think clearer, you regret less, you respect yourself more. Self-respect grows quietly. It grows every time you choose peace over pride, every time you choose silence over ego, every time you choose control over reaction. That growth compounds. Over time, you become someone who is hard to shake, not because you're emotionally distant, but because you're emotionally disciplined. And discipline creates freedom. Freedom from constant irritation, freedom from unnecessary conflict, freedom from people who thrive on reaction. On his channel, the message ends where it began. Power is not loud. Power is not aggressive. Power is not reactive. Power is calm. Power is controlled. Power is intentional. When you stop reacting, you stop giving your power away. And when your power stays with you, your life starts moving in a direction that finally feels aligned. That is the real power.